Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to show you how you can make alcohol-free extracts for flavoring so that if you can't have any kind of intoxicating type alcohol or you want to give this to children, you're going to have a safe option for that. I'm also going to be showing you, since I'm here, how I normally make my extracts, which is a lower alcohol version, which is also a pretty inexpensive way to do it. So you can use this method even if you're talking about medicinal extracts or anything like that. Either one of the methods I'm going to use. Okay, so let's get started on making a few different extracts. So the three I'm going to make today are going to be coffee, raspberry, and pineapple in the alcohol-free version. And then I'm going to make an orange extract using my homemade wine and the glycerin. So let me start with the three alcohol-free ones. Now, for that, you're going to need food grade non-GMO glycerin. I'm actually finally getting to the bottom of my first gallon of this glycerin, and I have two more that I found for a better deal where you buy 2 gallons at a time. You get the best deal on that, and I'll go ahead and put that link down below if you're interested. Anyway, I've had these jugs of glycerin for years, and it's taken me forever to work through them, even though I use them quite a bit in making extracts. So what you're going to need for your extracts is you're going to need 3 parts of your glycerin and 1 part of whatever healthy water you have. I'll be using our own filtered rainwater that we collect here on our property. And so 1 part to 3 parts. So that means if you're making a cup, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of water to 3/4 cup of the glycerin. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We know that a 1/2 pint holds a total of a cup, but we also have to consider the ingredients we're putting in here that we're going to extract. So they're going to take up, obviously, a little bit of space. So let me add in those ingredients first. So again, one of those is pineapple, and a couple of these, all of these I have made before using the normal way that I do it, but I'm making these again with this since I've never actually made this in the alcohol-free version. I've known how to do it, I've just never done it. But when these are done, I want it, that's why I'm making a small amounts of each. I want to compare them to the ones I've already made using my homemade one. Next one is the raspberries. So both the pineapple and the raspberries are freeze-dried fruits that I got from Mother Earth Products. And I will have that link down below if you're interested in checking them out. But I've also made extracts using my own homegrown herbs such as peppermint. I've used fresh peppermint, in fact, to do that. And when it comes to certain kinds of extracts, you can use fresh herbs. Then the other one is going to be the coffee. What I like to do, instead of grinding it up, I want to break up my coffee beans so that they'll extract better, but I don't want them ground because it's going to make them harder to strain out. So I'm just putting them in this mortar and pestle that Patrick made for me. This is, I believe, a spalted maple wood that he made this one out of. And just kind of break those up, even if they just crack in half or whatever. Just get a bunch of those broken up. I think it's going to make a much better extract. Okay, and I don't think you need a whole lot of the coffee to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and put another handful. So you can see how much I put of the freeze-dried fruits in here. I like to put a lot. I want good, strong flavor. Okay, and I'll end up with some whole coffee beans in there, and that's okay too. I just want to have at least a good portion of them broke up. So you can see how that looks, how I've got that jar filled. I'm going to start with the 2-cup measuring cup. I'm thinking that should be enough to fill these 3 1/2-pint jars. And so what I'm going to do is put in 1.5 cups. I'm going to make a total of 2 cups of this. 1.5 cups of the glycerin. Then I'm going to go ahead and mix in a 1/2 cup of the rainwater to that. So that's going to be 3 parts to 4 parts. So I can actually see, I'm not sure if this is showing up in the camera, I can actually see the water currently is just sitting on top. The glycerin is still right there at the 1.5 cup mark. It's kind of got almost a cracked ice look. So now what I want to do is mix that in. The purpose of the water is to kind of dilute down the glycerin so that it makes it a little bit less syrupy and better for extracting that way. I've tried actually making an extract using just plain glycerin. It was a vanilla extract. And while it was okay, it just didn't extract the vanilla good enough on its own. And I knew it was because it was just too syrupy. Okay, and then I'm just going to pour that over my ingredients here. And for the freeze-dried fruits, what you're probably going to need to do is pour it and then let it sit for a bit. And you may, if you've got, like, this is going to be perfect actually. But if you want, after it sits for a bit, it's going to, these things are going to start soaking up that liquid. And you may find that you'll need to add more. The coffee should be just fine. I don't really need to stir it with the chopstick. All I need to do is put on my lids and then shake them really well. And as far as the shaking goes, this is something I recommend you do every day for the first couple weeks if you can remember it. Okay, shake that. And you can see the color of this is already starting to turn. Love using the freeze-dried fruits because they're just easy to use and they add so much flavor. Okay, and then if like me, you're reusing your lids and you got a little bit of writing on there that didn't wash off well because you use permanent marker, just take a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I always keep some isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle to make it easy. And then I just wipe that off, and now I can write on it. It's going to be important that you date your extracts because you're going to want to let this sit for, a couple of months. So the next one I'm going to do, whoops, wrong one, is the orange. I bought some organic oranges. This is important, especially if you're going to leave the peel on, that you get yourself organic oranges or lemons and slice them and then dry them next to the wood stove. Okay, so there we go. I got my orange slices in there. That's a whole orange that I stuck in there. And dehydrated is best when it comes to this kind of stuff, dehydrated or freeze-dried, because you're just going to get better flavor. Now with this, I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to put in the glycerin. I'm going to fill it up to about halfway. Okay, and now I'm going to put in some of my own homemade apple wine. Shake that up good to get that wine and that glycerin mixed together well. Okay, so now let me show you a few of the extracts I've made that I have on hand. Here's a pineapple one that I made again from the freeze-dried pineapple using the method I showed you with the oranges. Here's a cherry. It's a sour cherry. It's very dark, but I think I did use one of my more reddish colored homemade wines to make this one. And then this one is raspberry. And then right here is a chocolate one, which was one of the last extracts that I started because I realized I really liked chocolate extract and I needed to make more. So I'm going to go ahead and strain this out today and show you how I do that. Now, depending on what you've used in here and how fine the particles are, you can either use a fine stainless steel mesh strainer like I've got here, or you can take a piece of cotton or cheesecloth and put that over the top of that if you have some really fine particles that you don't want in your extract. I'm just going to go ahead and try straining it out as is, and let's see what happens here. Yeah, it looks like that caught all that. And this extract was made with organic cacao nibs, so they're raw. That's why they're called cacao. And they're organic, and I can link to those below if you're interested in getting some so that you can make your own chocolate extract. And look at that color. It smells amazing. And since I'm not concerned about this going bad, I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my chocolate extract that I made last time, and I have a little bit left. And so what I've got here is a recycled maple syrup bottle. So you don't have to buy those fancy, expensive swing top bottles like I have here with my other extracts. You can just recycle some smaller, nice looking bottles or whatever kind of bottles you have on hand. And there we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the glycerin. So glycerin, on one source that I found, is said to have a shelf life of up to 20 years. Now this seems like it could be debatable. My personal thoughts are, just in the amount of time I've had mine stored as is, I don't see it ever going bad. That's just my personal opinion. Don't take my word for it. But what I've read about a glycerin-based extract that has no alcohol in it is I've seen some varying things, you know, from 4 months up to a year. And so, again, I think these are going to last a lot longer than that on the shelf. But if you're concerned about it, you could probably put them in the fridge or make smaller amounts at a time of your extracts, even doing maybe a quarter of a pint instead of a half pint like I have here, if you don't think you're going to use them up fast enough. Again, I think they're going to last much longer than that. Now, as far as my half and half blend, I really can't say for certain because I'm the only one I know of that has come up with this way. It's my own blend. And I don't know of anyone else that does it the way I do, but I feel pretty darn certain that these will last for years, just like this. I mean, once you strain it out, I think they're going to last for years. I usually use them within a year, 2 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. But so far I've had no issue with it. Now, when it comes to your standard way of making extracts that involve a high proof alcohol like rum, bourbon, or vodka, these are said to have an indefinite shelf life, which for a lot of people that's going to make them more desirable. But for those of us who are trying to avoid that kind of alcohol or the expense of buying those types of alcohols, then going with the method either one of these two methods to either have a lower alcohol content or no alcohol content, then that's going to be the way to go. And I still think you're going to look at a pretty long shelf life. But I do want to say something real quick. When it comes to making my vanilla extract, I still prefer using a blend of the glycerin and the spiced rum. It just seems to add more to the flavor of the vanilla as it is. It just blends really well with it. But for all my other extracts, I do use the homemade wine and the glycerin to do that, and have been quite happy with the results. And it saves me a lot of money, and I like the fact that my homemade wine, I know exactly what's in it. It's all organic fruit that I've made it out of, and so it's going to be a lot healthier that way. Now, one more thing I have to say about glycerin, it actually is an alcohol, but it's not the kind of intoxicating alcohol like your rum, vodka, or wine is going to be. So there's no concern of it there. It also has a very strong sweet flavor to it, which might surprise you. However, it's not the kind of sweetness that you have to worry about it if you're diabetic or trying to avoid sugars because maybe you're on a keto diet or something like that. You don't have to worry about it. However, I would not recommend using it as a sweetener on a regular basis. I just say stick with using it in your extracts and allow that to have its own sweetness to whatever you add your extracts to. But again, don't see it as a sugar replacement. Even though it's not going to raise your blood sugar levels or any of that kind of stuff, it's still, it's still one of those things that should be used in moderation, which I personally think should apply to all sugars and all sugar replacements, no matter how healthy and natural they're supposed to be. But that's my personal opinion. All right, so there's how you make your own alcohol-free flavored extracts, and be creative and use whatever it is that you have. Any kind of fruit or herb that you want to extract the flavor from, this is going to work with either one of these methods that you want to try out. One more thing I want to add before I forget is, even if you're going to do like the half and half blend or the full alcohol blend when it comes to the extract, if you're going to be using it in food anyway, especially if you're going to be cooking with it, cooking is going to cook out much, not all, but much of the alcohol content, and you're consuming it with food. So any alcohol content that's left in it is going to be absorbed by the food that you're eating. So you should not ever have to worry about it having any intoxicating kind of effect. But still, if you're doing something where you're putting it in something that you're not going to cook at all, that you're going to give to children, let's say you're going to add it to some, you know, you want to add some peppermint extract to some hot cocoa that you made. Unless you're going to put it into the cocoa as you're making it, if you're just going to put it in afterwards, then you might want to stick with your glycerin and water-based extract for that, just to be on the safe side. But in most cases, you're going to look at, especially one that's a half and half blend like I like to use, you should have very little to no problems with using that, no matter who you are. But again, you got to just, you know what your health issues are, you know your sensitivity to alcohol, or who you're going to be giving it to. So these are all things to consider, and I hope you found this video helpful on how to make your own alcohol-free flavored extracts. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.